All right, this is the area where I've been getting tree limbs for the shelter, and one spot for clay is right over here, but it's pretty rocky. So I've been out of it until we had 3 inches of rain earlier in the week overnight. That's where I screen it down in there, pull some out. That's my secondary site. My original site, this spring's been a lot wetter than some, is in here. All this was dug out, so there's clay. A lot of cattails growing, which I tend to use. But the spot that's open right there, was where I was getting a lot of clay because it was sediment and there wasn't a lot of screening to do with it and everything. But it's probably, if I was to go to the bottom of the hole, it's at least chest deep and the water's kind of cold. So we're not going to do that yet. It will drop out in a little bit. I have where I can probably get some clay there. This hillside I can get, but I don't really want to start mining out of it yet. But since it got wet, I started taking it from around the hill. There's all kinds of things growing. There's a lot of purple coneflower growing back here. That's why I'm kind of careful about what I do. That's echinacea, and it's something you kind of want to keep around. But you can see how boggy this is back here. And you can see how many trips just by the footprints that I've left. This is sediment for runover of the little dam that I built to hold back some of that because I was wanting the cattails to grow. Sometimes it bites me in the butt when I do stuff like that, but it'll lower here in a little bit, and then I can get back in it, dig the bottom out. This is essentially what I'm doing. Just taking the surface off of this. And this will fill back in with sediment. I'll probably be back here over the summer making bricks for a few things as things go. I usually grab a bucket or two at a time. Wet clay gets kind of heavy, and I'm carting it probably 140 yards. So this is kind of a slow process. And we have the supervisor out there. Slim. All right, this is the first wall. I've closed up the top where the top slid over just a little bit. It's secured, closed up. A few little areas are repaired. I started on the front lower, and this is gonna be where it's the hole is for the stove that will be going in. Well, kind of an oven sort of thing. I gotta make bricks. That's what I was talking about earlier, making bricks down there to do this. But I've started putting clay in the walls, and I mentioned on the earlier that we had 3 inches of rain. Well, I had these buckets full of clay that was screened pretty much. Gonna go in here, then it started getting, the weather just turned to crap. Well, that's what we ended up with. So I'm bringing this up that's a little dry and mixing the two together. You know, it kind of sucks hauling it up wet, but got to do what you got to do. This, all the wet up at the top there that's been put in. Down the side, that's 3 buckets of clay. I think I moved up the steel buckets, which isn't really a lot of clay. It's not on there super thick. This will be a project that, like in the old days, you get the first layer on and then you just keep building up unless you got more than one person. It's me, I'm working full-time job, so this gets done as it gets done. But what I'm doing, and I'm not even sure if this is just what I decided to do to see how it works. It held up quite well over the winter. A lot better. We've had a pretty wet winter. This thing took 70 miles an hour winds. Didn't blow the roof off, didn't tear it up, didn't blow any clay out. I was kind of impressed. But what I do, I take some of this wet goopy shit, mix it into some of the dry with a bit of water, and then just slap it into the walls. I try to mix up the area a little bit because at the bottom I got a whole bunch in there, and if you're not careful until it starts setting up, it can come out and take more with it, which you don't really want. But that sat for a little while, so I'm hoping it holds. If it don't, I'll just put it back in. It's kind of a mess. I usually work in shorts and a t-shirt where I can. Otherwise you just slime up everything. And usually when I'm doing this it's really hot, so today's not so much. Clay and clothes in the washer isn't really good, so I minimize the damage to things when I can. See, this area was kind of thin, but it actually held together. It would have kept the wind out. I'm getting the stone floor on the inside. Carting stones up. I've had one person crack on me, "This is a primitive site and you had a lawnmower base sitting next to it." Well, yeah, I did. I was using it to haul the big rock that I didn't want to carry. And I never said it was completely primitive. I use what I can, but it's all hand done. It was pulled up here from 100 yards away. It was a rock a lot bigger than I wanted to carry anymore. So that's what I did. Also note the person that was complaining doesn't do anything, so don't really care. But this keeps up until you get the section done, then you go somewhere else. I clay in. I gotta go clear around all the corners and get all this, because this will help keep the water out. Then I'll probably build up more as I go. I'm almost tempted to run a layer of brick over it as it goes. I don't know. Or just build a whole different one. That'll be as I get a few more things set up. Because I got my kiln and I'm going to start making and firing bricks, because I want the bricks on the inside for the stove, and it'll be made out of the same mess. It does fire. It seems to hold up fairly well. Guess we'll find out. You gotta move a lot of dirt to get things going. As you can see, this isn't a slap together sort of shelter. This is more a permanent structure. If something went down, or even out in the middle of somewhere, you could build this. And get by. The Natives did things like this for years, centuries, all over the world. Granted, it didn't have a plastic top, but I'm using what I got, such as they would have done. It would have been probably a thatched roof. Some places use tile, because you can make tile out of this clay. Little different setup, but the same sort of thing. I tied this together with cordage made from pop bottles, but I could have easily have done it just by weaving everything together. Once you start weaving the red cedar bows together, they get really sturdy. They're kind of a pain in the neck to do, but once you got it, they tend to hold together pretty good. The ground's kind of soft now, so I thought about doing a mud pit, dumping clay in it, but I realized I just didn't want another big mud hole around, so that's why I'm using the buckets. That's the process. It's nothing fast, nothing glamorous. It's just playing in the mud. Kind of like you used to do when you were a kid, but a little more constructive probably.